everyone, and welcome back to the GCOR Show. Today, we'll be talking about the hot takes from the Singapore Grand Prix and other topics, such as whether GCOR 75 can continue this really good pace from Singapore to Saudi Arabia and the rest of the season, whether Foop is just unlucky or whether it's his own fault for the incidents that he's been in recently, and whether Hurricane's actually in this title fight or not. The first topic I'd like to talk about, I think, has to be GCOR 75 pace. I think we haven't really seen Chick pull out a lap like that since last season at Portimao, where he got pole by 0.4 of a second. And I think it really shows what, when all of the stars align, what he's got in the tank, obviously getting pole by a 10th to Coward, very, very, very close qualifying session. And even his race pace was quite impressive. Even though, at the time we thought Mercedes had gone with the wrong strategy, starting Chick on the hard tyres, whilst the other drivers in the top 5, such as Dino, Bambino, Coward and Hurricane, all started on the mediums. It ended up being, I guess, the right strategy, and it was the right strategy because of Chick's pace. He managed to keep up with the front 3, the front 2 it became after Dino spun, and obviously, the team and himself had to be on their toes because there were so many safety cars. I think there were 3 or 4 safety cars. I lost count. And also the weather was ever changing. So for Chick, just when he had the lead, he didn't end up losing the lead. I don't think he lost the lead at one stage after he got the lead. I think that's very, very morale boosting, not only for himself but the whole GN7 team. I think this race showed his maturity in how to control a changing situation, So many things could have gone wrong. But him and the whole GN7 team just managed to stay composed and end up on top. Even when Dino Bambino was putting in the pressure on the last 5-6 laps, he managed to keep his head down, he managed to push. That gap didn't increase too much, but he did just enough. He did just enough to keep him, with 2 laps to go, he was actually outside of the DRS range. So I think Chick really, he drove a very strong race, and whether he can continue this pace going on to Saudi Arabia and the rest of the season, there's only one way to find out. The next topic I'd like to pick up on is on Foop. Recently, Red Bull and Foop announced that they are considering giving Foop a little bit of a break. Obviously, Foop still has his injury from his wrists, from one of his incidents. I think it was the incident at Australia where he managed to, do some serious damage to his wrists. So I hope he can get well soon. But he's still been racing, and I do respect that from Foop, that he's still been turning up to races. He's still been, very, very competitive. But I think, obviously, he has been unlucky with incidents. I think I've already said this, the incident at Australia, I think that was his fault. The one at China, it's a close one. It's very unfortunate. On another day, with another driver, that probably wouldn't have happened. But because Foop is going through a rough patch in his GCOR career, it had to happen to Foop at the end of the day. Which is very unfortunate. And then, most recently at Singapore, I didn't see what happened, but again, another DNF. And that's, we've had 4 races this season, and this DNF'd in 3 of them. The only race he managed to finish was at Suzuka, where he actually managed to get pole and finish P3. So, when Foop does have a clean weekend, he is definitely up there, battling for a race win, I reckon, but he's not having clean weekends at this moment, and every driver goes through a rough patch in their career, We've seen it with so many drivers. I remember seeing it with Genius Nature, actually, a couple seasons ago, back in Gen.3 Season 1, where he had a rough patch. He couldn't stop finishing P5, but he managed to get out of that rough patch and actually, get two more race wins by the end of the season. And I do believe Foop will be able to leave this rough patch. I think it's not really, I don't think he should change his driving style, because I've said this many times, I've always kind of had Foop's back when it comes to his driving style. I like his driving style. I think he's one of the cleaner drivers on the grid. Don't get me wrong, I know he's going through a rough patch right now, where he can't stop getting into incidents. But I remember last season thinking to myself, this guy, I can really trust this guy when going wheel to wheel with him. I battled with him a few times in Bahrain and Dakota, and it was a very clean fight. So I do think he's got potential. As long as he can get out of this rough patch unscathed without any more injuries, I do think we'll see Foop, coming back stronger, and who knows, maybe getting another race win to add to his GCOR tally. The next topic and the final topic of today's GCOR episode is going to be on Hurricane. Another brilliant result for Hurricane. This time he wasn't even driving for Williams. He was making a one-time show out for the Alpine boys, as Midget Matt couldn't turn up this week. And well, first race, first podium. Is that Alpine's? I think that's Alpine's first podium of the season, and it's not even happened with their main driver. So I think that says a lot about Hurricane. That shows that Hurricane is quick. That shows that this season he's improved as a driver. He's better physically and mentally, and he's right now, as we speak, he's third in the GCOR driver standings, third place, ahead of likes like Midget Matt, Foop, as I already said, and even former GCOR champion Coward. Yes, Coward has been unlucky, but you've got to give credit to Hurricane at the end of the day. Last two races, well, this whole season, I think he's driven brilliantly. But the last two races especially, finishing P2 at China, in the rain, finishing P3 here in a wet-dry race. I think Hurricane he's definitely been one of the drivers of the season, up to this point at least. Whether we can see this brilliant form continue, I guess time will tell. And whether he's actually a title contender, I guess only time will tell there. If we're still saying Cowards in this title fight, I don't see why we can't say Hurricanes in this title fight as well, He showed brilliant pace in qualifying. I think he's qualified in the top 3 at all of the races, bar race 1, where he qualified P5 at Suzuka. So, yeah, Hurricane's driven brilliantly, and I hope that he can continue improving. And who knows, we might have a four driver title fight this year. But anyways, that's it for today's GCOR show. Tell us your thoughts, and who you think is going to be in this title fight. Always show the love to the GCOR community, and